and welcome to this week's Torah Outreach Program, Erev Shabbos, Burst of Inspiration. Today's Burst of Inspiration is sponsored by Dr. P.J. and Mrs. Judy Goldberg in Hakaras Hatov, in pure gratitude for Kadosh Baruch Hu, that their son came back from the front lines unharmed and in good condition and doing very well. And as a schus for all the soldiers, both in Gaza and in Lebanon, that they should all come back unharmed, successful, and that the prisoners should be freed and this horrible war should end. This week's Parsha, Parshas Vayishlach. The epic and very symbolic battle between Yaakov and the Malach, the angel, the power behind the nation of Esav. They fought. But how did Yaakov get there to this fight anyway? He was alone. He told he was levado, he was by himself, and he encountered this angel, and the two of them had this horrible battle. Well, everyone agreed. All the interpretations of the Torah agree that he went back for clay jugs, or a clay jug. Why? Just from an allusion from a word, levado, means by himself. He went back by himself, or it could be read lekado. He went back for his jug. What was so special about this jug? So another commentary called the Das Akini Baletosis, the knowledge of the elders and the masters of the Tosos, said you could read it another way. Instead of lebado, it could be lebad. A bad is an olive press. And inside that jug that he went back for, that he risked his life. He knew going back he should not go back by himself. He risked his life. For what? Well, says this commentary, the Das Akini Balatosis, it was a jug full of olive oil. Well, what was so special about this olive oil that it was worth going back for? We have to go back a little bit to last week's Torah reading. Last week's Torah reading was also epic, very symbolic for the future of the Jewish people. Yaakov falls asleep, and he has this prophetic dream of a ladder, and he wakes up and he realizes, had I known what this place was, he was sleeping on the Temple Mount, I never would have slept here. And he makes a monument, and he takes some olive oil, and to dedicate the monument, he poured the olive oil on the monument, that was done traditionally to dedicate something. Poured the olive oil on the monument. Well, where did that olive oil come from? We know that one of Esav's children caught up with Yaakov, and he wanted to kill him, but he felt bad because Yaakov even though his father told him to, Yaakov is his uncle. How can I kill my uncle? He said, just take everything I have. I'll be as if I'm dead because I'll have nothing. He took everything but his walking stick. So where'd that oil come from? And another explanation, another commentary on the Torah, a book called the Megala Mukos by Rabbi Nosson Shapiro 200 years ago, who was known to be a Kabbalist, delved in the secrets of the Torah. And he said that oil was hidden there by God himself in order to give Yaakov the opportunity to dedicate that monument. Well, guess what? Yaakov went back to the oil on the other side, risked his life, knowing that he shouldn't be left alone, went back by himself. That was the jug of oil. It wasn't his. It belonged to Shemayim, to the heavens, but it wasn't his. And Rashi, the famous great commentary, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, he said that the reason Yaakov went back is because our righteous are always afraid of not wasting their money, any bit of it, because they're afraid of gezel, because are they precious? They pride themselves in their belongings because they don't touch money that doesn't belong to anybody else, because that would be considered gezel, thievery. Or you could learn it a different way. They treasure other people's money more than their own because you have to be so careful of gezel, of thievery. And if I lose something that doesn't belong to me, I'm responsible. We're taught that handling somebody else's possessions or somebody else's money should be more dear to you than your own. To be so protective of it. Because how dare you lose something or damage something that doesn't belong to you. So he risked his life, literally, for that little jug of oil. Now we get to the spooky part. Centuries later, we're coming on to the holiday of Hanukkah. Everybody knows the story that the Hashmonaim, the Maccabees, came into the temple on the 25th day of the Hebrew month of Kislev. They didn't proclaim a holiday. They only proclaimed the holiday the following year. They actually fasted that day. They mourned that day. They tore their clothing in mourning because they found that our temple, our Beis Hamikdash, was ruined. There were pigs smoldering on our altar, our Mizbeach. There were idols erected in the courtyards of the temple, of the holiest place in the world. There was an idol erected in the Kodesh Kodashim, the Holy of Holies. And the menorah, the golden 24-karat hand-carved menorah, was gone. But the first thing they wanted to do was light the menorah, because the light of the menorah represents the light of Torah being spread around the world. And the Greeks hated that concept. They wanted to destroy our Torah. So they purposely destroyed all the containers of oil for lighting the menorah. They also stole the menorah. They sent it back to King Antiochus in Syria. So the Maccabees, they took 7 poles, lined them up, put 7 cups on top of those poles, and now they wanted to fill those cups with the special oil for the menorah. Problem is, the oil for the menorah is very, very specific. It's only one drop from each olive. The rest is put into a pile and used for something else. One drop from each olive. And there was nothing, because the Greeks were looking to destroy them. Now you know the rest of the story. They found a jug of olive oil. And we all know that jug of olive oil, which was enough only to last for one day, actually lasted for 8 days, which was enough time for people to get to where the olives are pressed in an olive press, made into olive oil for the menorah, and get back down to Jerusalem. In the meantime, that olive oil burned for 8 days. And the question is, we celebrate 8 days of Hanukkah because of the miracle of the olive oil. It should have lasted for 1, and it lasted for 8, and everybody knows that the miracle is that it lasted for 8 days instead of 1. And according to that, we should only celebrate Hanukkah for 7 days. Because the first day wasn't a miracle. It was natural. It was supposed to burn 1 day. Why do we celebrate the first day? And now you know the rest of the story. Because where did that miraculous olive oil that was only supposed to last for 1 day and lasted for 8, that was hidden, and the Greeks, no matter how hard they looked and turned over everything they could find in order to find this olive oil and destroy it. How did they miss that bottle? And how did the Maccabees find it? That is the olive oil that Yaakov found on the Temple Mount, that Yaakov risked his life to take back with him and bring with him when he traveled and he fought the Malach for. That small jug of oil, so pachim ketanim, small jug, that's what lasted for centuries in order to give the Chasmonayim, the Maccabees, a chance to light the menorah that was only supposed to last for 1 day, and instead it lasted for 8. And as we're always told, that Yaakov represents the Jew in exile. Everything that happened to Yaakov is what happens to us. Yaakov fought to keep that olive oil. Symbolically, he fought to keep our people going. The olive oil represents the Torah, the light of Torah. And it's the light of Torah is why we're still here today.